view is like the way in which anybody can come close to their own heart, to their own emotional experience, to their own senses. It's not about being trained as an artist, but it is about the art of everyday living. That you can use any expressive aspect of who you are to, in a mindful way, to actually wake you up and to enrich your life in a way that takes you beyond your personal storylines, whatever those might be. So when I think about mindfulness-based art therapy, really what I'm teaching is Dharma art. And I, because I'm trained as a therapist, have melded the two together, the art training and the, I think I was going to say training as a counselor, but it's actually a point of view about personal transformation, I think, that's blended in with the art. And it's a profound and deep belief in the power of the expressive mind to heal or to take us beyond our known self into areas of who we are that are both exciting and terrifying and illuminating and hidden, and it's a way of opening the door of your life to another level of richness or depth, passion. And you could bring any question that you have to that process and use the process or use the mindfulness practices and the art practices associated with it to work with that part of your life, to make friends with the brush or the pen or whatever the materials are that they're working with, in the same way that you would make friends with a friend, like another person. So they learn to relate to the materials as if they're relating to another being. And in that, they have a safe, non-judgmental process that they can use, or that you would have if you were doing it, or I would have, that we could use to just express, see what's there, and see what it evokes in us. So it's really like having your own laboratory, another way to explore your own mind, another way to find out who you really are without anybody else's judgment or interpretation or analysis. So it's therapy that really comes more out of the, I would say, out of the Jungian tradition of therapy than the Freudian. So it's not so much about really getting to know all the details of your ego and all your defenses and all the ways in which you've created obstacles for problems for yourself and fixing them. It's not actually that point of view. It's a much bigger picture, which is one that says, at heart, we're all fundamentally good. We all have basic goodness. And we all, if we peel everything back, open to our core, what's discovered there is the expressive mind. Sometimes it's called clarity. Sometimes it's called luminosity. Sometimes it's talked about as true nature. But it has this quality both of wide open, clear, unimpeded, unfabricated. It just is what is, and at the same time, there's movement or action or an expressive quality to the energy of it. And so when you work with that as your grounding assumption, it's really like saying you're okay just the way you are. It's a matter of finding out how to connect to that part of yourself. And then how do I get to live that out day to day in my life? So that's the therapeutic process. I think of it as, I call it the expressive mind of transformation. And it's got 3 stages, and the first one is just connecting. So in those basic mindfulness practice where you just sit, you're in your posture, feel your body in the chair, your feet on the floor, wherever you're sitting right now, you just feel. yourself. And then you notice your breath. And if you actually follow your breath, at some point your breath goes in and you go in. Your attention follows inward. And we learn to be able to turn our attention in and out. In and out. And most of us live our life with our attention out here, 90% of the time. It's kind of what neuroscientists are now calling our default position for our brain, is that we're scanning and checking out the outside world all the time. But when you slow down and you learn to practice, your brain actually is mirrored. It starts to feel and see and know what's going on internally, and there's a quality of reciprocity between oneself and the world. The world becomes like a mirror. So it's always like, I look at you look at me, you're sort of reflecting me back, I'm reflecting you back. There's something going on between us. It's not just you, it's not just me, right? But we can feel it between us. So that can happen in the art as well. And if that happens in the art, then there's a quality of safety there, that you're in charge of that interaction, the energy of that. And you can start and stop when you want to. And it's not the same as trying to do that with another person, because you don't really have control of the other person. You don't know if they're going to go, I'm out of here, or they're going to want to come closer, or we don't know. We never know. But what we do know is how to actually be able to be here, and be here in a way that we're open to our own internal realities, whatever those might be, without judgment. So there's a quality of cultivating loving kindness, or cultivating a gentleness towards ourselves. So much about looking at the image and how you interpret it, or what your analysis of the image is. It's really about the person's inner experience as they do the painting. And then when you step back from it, you look at it yourself and you sort of go, oh, it's not as bad as I thought. Or, why did Margaret say that about it? Or why did so-and-so? I mean, how could they possibly think this was attractive or harmonious? But all of them had some element of peace in some way. Some element of the same kind of stillness that you touch in your meditation. And I think that the reason that they are able to go there in the art is because they practice. So they start from a place of mindfulness. They're in contact with who they are. They're in contact with their body, their breath. They can feel their feelings. And what the art gives them is a way to do that that's safe, that's got enough space in it to actually allow the things that you don't like about yourself to just be the things that you don't like about yourself, without adding anything else to it. And there's something in that open quality of spaciousness that illuminates it in a way that you actually start to feel differently about who you are. And you are different. There's a kind of like an alchemical process that happens. So that quality that Jill was saying of non-judgmentalness, like a curiosity, just being with it. So whatever the worry is, whatever the fear is underneath there, learning somehow to make friends with it is what the loving kindness practice is. And so in the art, you might take the fear and put it in an environment of nurturing or safety, or what is it that fear needs? Like if you're curious in that way, what could you bring to it? Come closer to it, connect with it, contact it. What could you bring to it that might actually support you in a different way? So in that sense, the teachings really do mean it when they say that we're okay the way we are. Who we are is fundamentally good. That in every moment there's the possibility of wisdom, there's the possibility of fusion. And that's true for everybody, all the time. So it's about fear and curiosity, maybe, or fear and fear and gentleness. And she was talking about just this, that your thoughts feel so real, and one thought fights with the other thought. And one of the things you can say to yourself is they're real, but they're not the truth. So you're not trying to eliminate them. You're actually just acknowledging, oh yeah, that's a thought, and that's a thought, and there's more to me than that. My experience is fuller, deeper, other. So the same thing would be true if you said to yourself, I'm only going to feel love. That's a thought. And there's more to you than that. It's not the truth. You could do it too. So it's really a point of view that doesn't participate in favoritism. You can't, if you show preference for the light over the dark or the good over the bad, you're in a dualistic struggle inside yourself. And so this is really trying to cultivate another place or another notion of non-dual being, or just being able to be who you are with what is right now. And so in the art, we do that from an expressive point of view, just allowing ourselves to express what feels exactly right and true in this moment. In fact, sometimes there's more power in the nonverbal than in the verbal. And the feeling in the sense of intimacy or the sense of heart in the connection is much more vulnerable. And so I think for many people in leadership roles or large social situations where, I don't know if you've ever had to go to a networking situation where you have to say who you are in 1 minute and shake 20 hands before you get halfway around the room or something like that, right? It's terrifying. But the essence of it is really you just let yourself relax into feeling your own physical feet on the floor, seat on the chair, and you're here. And then breathe. You just do your mindfulness practice. And part of why we call it practice and why it's training is that it does take practice. So if you do that over and over and over again on the cushion, and you do it 100 times during your day, when you're in the moment where it feels conflicted or difficult or strange, or you feel like you want to leave, that training starts to kick in for you, and you don't leave. You go, okay, I'm here. And I can feel the person beside me, and I can see the person across the room from me. And then you have a choice. You can express or not. So the fact that our true nature has this expressive quality to it doesn't mean that we have to express everything that we experience. So like a simple way of looking at it would be like being honest doesn't mean that you say everything that you think or everything that you feel. Being honest from the point of view of loving kindness is you speak the truth in a way in which you do your best to not harm another person. So that means what one of my teachers would call limited authenticity. That sometimes I would say part of what's going on with me to you, and maybe another time I might say more, but some days I might not say anything at all. So it's really by getting used to being at home and knowing who you are and what's going on in you, by being familiar in that way with that kind of training, then you actually get to make choices that are wise. You make better decisions in your life. And part of exploring that is having some way, some place where you can express yourself in a way to really explore and see who you are. And that's what I think the art does.